when Harley-Davidson released its updated 2017 touring line with the new Milwaukee 8 engine. It didn't take any insider information to figure out that the new power plant would eventually propel all of Harley's big twins. Well, that time has arrived with the announcement of the motor company's 2018 model lineup. While the engine upgrade itself isn't much of a surprise, the way HD chose to craft an all-new big twin chassis around the Milwaukee 8 is huge news. With a company that values its history as much as Harley-Davidson does, nothing is ever designed from a truly clean sheet. That said, the changes required to merge the Milwaukee 8 engine into the existing product line's chassis provided a unique opportunity. The company could behave as it had done in the past by making the new bikes look like nothing had changed, or the designers and engineers could capitalize on the designs of the past as they look to the present and the future. This time, Harley chose the harder, riskier path, deciding to undertake the largest product development project in the motor company's history. Once the project was complete, 8 new models plus 4 large displacement variants would be ready for the riding public. The driving tenets of the Softail program were, incorporate the new powertrain into the chassis, improve the dynamic capability of the entire HD cruiser line, deliver more comfort to the rider and passenger, and reduce the weight of each model. Fitting the new engines into the frames while losing weight sounds pretty self-explanatory, if that is all you're doing. Improving the line's dynamic capabilities, however, requires comprehensive updates aimed specifically at handling, lean angle, and suspension capabilities. Similarly, rider-passenger comfort covers everything from engine heat to suspension compliance. There simply wasn't one easy or clear path. Although the Milwaukee 8 engine has a purported 75% less vibration than the twin cam, as we noted in our 2017 Harley-Davidson Milwaukee 8 engines tech brief, the touring line that first received the engines uses rubber mounts, but that level of vibration would be too great for the frame stiffening and rigid mounting plan for the Softail chassis. So, while the engine is largely the same, having the same rotating assembly, crankshaft, pistons, heads, etc., a second counterbalancer was added to the Milwaukee 8 for Softail use. Now, twin counterbalancers mounted on each side of the crankshaft rotate in the opposite direction to the crank itself, quelling vibration. Unlike some of the liquid-cooled ME touring models, only oil-air cooling will be offered on the Softails. This shouldn't come as a surprise, since the radiators of the twin-cooled engine reside in the touring bike's lowers, items that none of the Softails have. Instead, a well-hidden trapezoid oil cooler takes up precedence between the frame down tips. Assisting in keeping the lines around the engine clean, the hoses feeding the cooler are routed so that they are virtually invisible from a distance. The planning team at Harley-Davidson knew the Dyna and Softail lines attracted different kinds of customers. The Project Rushmore developed research they conducted, where they literally went into riders' homes and garages to talk motorcycle likes and dislikes, revealed that Dyna owners had self-selected themselves based on the differing performance attributes of the Dyna line. The old Softail had dual extending shocks under the frame, a location that made it difficult to adjust the preload to accommodate variances in loading. Consequently, riders mostly left the dual shocks at their factory setting if they knew it was adjustable at all. While this might be fine when riding solo, adding a passenger and/or luggage, or even an American-sized man with an aggressive riding style, could eat up a large percentage of the suspension travel before encountering any road imperfections. So, the developers saw easy adjustment of the rear preload to be more than just a handling issue, it was a rider-passenger comfort issue. The new, under-seat location of the Showa monoshock makes it possible to easily adjust preload as required. To maximize the benefit, Harley made the preload adjustment capable of spanning a 240-pound range in passenger, cargo weights, which, in some cases, more than double the rated load the bike could carry. Depending on the model, the rider can adjust preload through either a ramped collar, an under-seat hydraulic adjuster, or an external hydraulic adjustment knob. The new shock position and rear suspension geometry deliver a rear-wheel travel-to-shock stroke ratio of about 2 to 1, and the shock stroke has increased to 43 mm, giving show a more stroke to work with for handling bumps. Aside from better control of the rear wheel movement, the longer strokes allow for a softer stop when the suspension bottoms. Fun fact, two bikes, the Heritage Classic and the Fat Bob, received dampers with 56 mm of stroke and the associated increase in rear wheel travel, but before you ask, these longer shocks will not be available as accessories for the other models. Since 1950 FL was front and center in the designers' minds when they were creating the new Softail line, the company has not ceased to place styling and history high on its priorities. The list is simply expanding. For example, we find ourselves some 2,300 words into this article about the new Softails, and the bulk of the text has been about how the designers have infused the new chassis with more function. Only now, are we ready to take a closer look at the styling. The Softail Slim, the Deluxe, and the Heritage Classic form this grouping, and when viewed from a distance, their lines are almost identical to those of the previous model year. However, details start to emerge on closer inspection that point to the bikes being MY 2018 models. The engine is more tightly framed within the chassis. Cables and wiring are more neatly tucked away. The oil tank has been replaced by covers over the battery and electronics. The Deluxe becomes a solo seat mantle and receives LED lighting throughout along with the modern integrated light bar and turn signals. The Heritage Classic, while still maintaining its profile, takes on a darker, more modern style and gains sealed, locking saddlebags that can be easily removed. The designers took more risks with the remaining 5 members of the Softail line. Several models look like they have no instrumentation thanks to the new LED panels embedded in the top of the handlebar clamp. While most of these bikes have profiles that will be immediately identifiable to Harley cognoscenti, the designers have taken tremendous liberties with a couple well-loved icons. This is where Richard says the design department is cashing in the chips it earned with the Deluxe, the Heritage Classic, and the Slim. For 2018, Harley-Davidson has made a bold move with its Softail line. Every performance aspect has been updated to some degree, and from my experience, the dynamic updates were all for the better. Some Dyna diehards will be upset by the end of the line, but since many of them are more performance-oriented riders, they may be won over by a test ride, or 3. The styling changes are the larger risk. While each model has largely stayed true to the lines of the motorcycle it replaces, Harley have typically been averse to large-scale change, and large-scale change is what the motor company has on the menu for 2018.